Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your primetime destination news, newsmakers, talking points, and we've got big stories breaking this evening. IndiGo has reported to the DGCA the meltdown. Should heads roll is the big question that we will ask. And we've got big breaking news also on the Goa nightclub fire. The owners have fled the country. Who will be held accountable? Murder by negligence and corruption in Goa. Hard-hitting show. No one will be spared tonight. But breaking at the moment, we are getting big breaking news that the nightclub owners who are responsible, we believe, for all that went wrong in that Goa nightclub in which 25 people died have now escaped the country. That's right, they've fled the country and gone to Thailand, to Phuket by a 5 a.m. IndiGo flight. Who tipped them off? How did these co-owners, who the Goa police claimed were most wanted, have now left the country? This, remember, comes within 24 hours of that tragic incident where numerous illegalities allegedly winked at by the Goa government led to the death of 25 people. We are calling it murder by negligence and corruption. The owners have fled the country. Saurabh Luthra, Gaurav Luthra, took an IndiGo flight to Phuket, fled within 5 hours of the fire tragedy. Divyesh Singh, who's tracking this story in Goa, joins me now. Divyesh, this is crazy, bizarre. They are supposedly giving Instagram videos from Phuket, claiming that they are grieving and they have fled the country. What was the Goa police doing? What was the Delhi police doing if they have fled from Delhi?
Well, exactly, Rajdeep. This is a shocking development that has come to light and that has been confirmed by the Goa police sources that Gaurav and Saurabh Luthra, within 5 hours of the incident. Remember, the FIR points out that the fire broke out at 11:45 p.m. and at 5 a.m. Within 5 hours of the incident, they took a flight to Phuket, and that too, an IndiGo flight from Delhi, and they managed to reach Phuket untouched. They were not bothered, they were not stopped, not Goa police, not Delhi police. No one had any idea that the owners of Birch by Romeo Lane had fled to Phuket. This morning, we had checked with senior officials whether they are in India or you suspect that they have fled the country. We had received information that a lookout circular had been issued. But now, this evening, this confirmation has come from official sources that both the prime accused responsible for the death of 25 innocent persons have fled the country, and that too on an IndiGo flight within 5 hours of the incident. Rajdeep.
Divyesh Singh giving those details. Remember, all of this is coming against the backdrop of that horrific fire that took place in a prominent nightclub in Goa. 25 people, many of them poor staffers, were killed. There are serious allegations now being made that illegalities were allowed to continue despite demolition notices given by the local panchayat in Goa. Goa is India's premier tourism destination, but now it appears Goa is for sale. Take a look at our top story tonight.
No fire equipment. No safety protocols. Just one exit. The Birch by Romeo Lane, the popular nightclub in Arpora, was a time bomb ticking right under the noses of multiple authorities, functioning with their blessings. The lapses were too glaring to be missed. The tragedy on Saturday midnight that killed 25 people, by all accounts, was murder by negligence. The basement functioned as the kitchen and the changing room. 3 of its exits were sealed. The only one opening led to the restaurant above. The club itself had only one narrow entry point. The fire brigade could not reach the club. They had to be stationed 400 meters away. Here's more. The club did not have any fire safety equipment, but it performed fireworks during shows. And it was illegally constructed on salt pan land. A blatant violation, but the club brazenly advertised itself to be the only island club of Goa. A long list of violations ignored by an equally long list of departments. the fire department that incidentally comes under CM Pramod Sawant himself. Goa Coastal Zone Management Authority, Deputy Collector Panchayat, Directorate of Panchayats, Goa State Pollution Control Board. As expected, a blame game is on. BJP's local MLA Michael Lobo blames the Panchayat for issuing license in 2023.
पंचायत ने लाइसेंस दिया क्लब चलाने को, सो जब लाइसेंस मिलता है तो वो क्यों बंद करेगा? कैंसिल द लाइसेंस बाय फॉलोइंग प्रॉपर प्रोसीजर. आपने कौन सा प्रोसीजर करके उसको लाइसेंस दिया है? कुछ प्रोसीजर करके नहीं दिया है, और वो भी क्लब का लाइसेंस दिया है. पहली बार मैं देख रहा हूँ हमारे कलंगुट पंचायत ने आज तक क्लब का लाइसेंस नहीं दिया है.
The Sarpanch claims a demolition order was issued in 2024.
मैडम एक्चुअली हम लोगों ने उसको ऑलरेडी डिमोलिशन दिया था और हम लोगों ने लाइसेंस भी उसको एक किया था, रिन्यू नहीं किया था और उसने स्टे लाया था उसके ऊपर.
CM Pramod Sawant has ordered an audit of all clubs in Goa, a step which many say has come too late.
The committee shall be constituted under the chairmanship of the Secretary Revenue for conducting the audit of such clubs, business establishment, etc., which are operating without a valid permissions and wherein there is a likelihood to be gathering of the people in large number.
The CM has also gone on record saying that I will support the Mamladars and I will support the police in investigation. Does the police and Mamladar require his support? Are they not authorized as authorities to do what they are supposed to do without the permission, so-called permission of a CM? They have suo moto powers that they can take on these things. But sadly, he has put his name there also telling support.
Club owners Saurabh Luthra and Gaurav Luthra are in hiding, but posted an Instagram message offering condolences. Meanwhile, India Today visited another eatery run by them in Goa. This one in Vagator is right on the beach, again in violation of many norms.
This club, which is also named as Romeo Lane, operating on Vagator Beach, which was sealed just yesterday. But you can see that this club has been constructed on wood. There were several complaints against this club. There are CRZ violations, there are pollution violations, the complete construction is illegal, and over that, the land on which this club has been erected belongs to Goa government. It belongs to the Department of Tourism. There was a High Court order for demolition. There was a Department of Tourism order for demolition. But only superficial demolition took place, and again the club was functioning as it was earlier.
I was also threatened. Because of my threat. I put another complaint on from my friend Nilesh Fatte, and the authorities never supported us. But can you just imagine, on Sunday they came and sealed the place.
The police have arrested the general manager and 3 staff members of the Arpora nightclub. The government has suspended the former Panchayat director, the former Goa Pollution Control Board member secretary, and the Arpora Nagoa Panchayat secretary. But will any crackdown be complete without acting against the political masters who help illegal clubs thrive without any checks in Goa? With Divyesh Singh, Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, let's raise then the big question, the inconvenient questions that really go to the heart of this issue that every Goenka in India must raise. Murder by negligence and corruption is what we are calling it. Question number 1. How was the club operating without necessary permissions in spite of numerous complaints? Why did Panchayat Ministry stay the demolition order issued by the Panchayat citing that the construction is illegal? Why did the fire department not act against the establishment in spite of not having clearances? The club is situated in a salt pan area. How was that allowed? The original landowner filed many complaints against the club. Why was no action taken? Owners of the club are issuing Instagram status expressing grief Yet Goa police says they can't find them. Why and how? How did the Pollution Control Board give permission to this club? Why no action taken against the Home Department personnel, either the fire or police? Remember, no fire safety audit was done. How many clubs in Goa are operating exactly like this one without permission, and how? Which politicians are protecting such establishments, allowing them to go illegally? Joining me now, Advocate Amit Palekar, President AAP Goa. He's been appearing for some of the panchayat leaders who were seemingly made scapegoats. Advocate Carlos Alvares, MLA Congress. Jack Ajit Sukhija, President Travel and Tourism Association of Goa. We also hope to be joined by Savio Rodrigues, Editor-in-Chief, Goa Chronicle, and he's been with the BJP. Appreciate you all joining us. Amit Palekar, I want to ask you straight away, direct question. You are targeting the Chief Minister, calling for his resignation. Why should the Chief Minister resign for a fire of this kind that's taken place in Goa? It seems the entire system has been corrupted. So why are you singling out the Chief Minister only?
Well, Rajdeep, please understand the fact that the departments which controls excise, department which controls pollution control, but department which controls home, under whose gambit the entire this clubs come, they are all under the under Chief Minister. Please also understand the fact that few months back, almost a year back, and then few months back, I had very categorically stated that the coastal belt is being extorted. There is an extortion cartel which is being run by the government, and then they are extorting money for the fact of allowing these clubs to function without proper permission and beyond permissible time limits. Now, I have a copy of the complaint which was filed in December 2023 by the owners of the land against one Mr. Khosla, wherein there has been categorically the copy has been marked to the Chief Minister, has been marked to Delilah Lobo, who is the MLA, and where he has specifically stated that the construction is illegal. It's in the middle of a salt pen, right in the heart of a salt pen, next to a creek. GCZMA, which conducted inspection of this particular site, has said that it is illegal, but they said that it does not come within the ambit of theirs, as it does not come under CRZ. Now, thereafter, there is a notice which is issued, a demolition order which is issued in April 24. And in March 25, the panchayat asked the club to stop the functioning, and the notice has been marked to the police department, to home department, and other departments. Now, if you really ask me how this club was allowed to function by the excise department, how pollution control board allowed it to be functioning, how the police department allowed it to function, how the MLA overlooked all this, who are now crying crocodile tears. Now, if you really ask me, all these departments are under the control of Chief Minister. Now, if Chief Minister feels that the government officials have to be suspended, why no action has been taken against the Department of Excise Chief? Why no action has been taken against the police officers who have allowed this club to function? Okay. And why is Chief Minister only targeting 3 officials, the Sarpanch, but when he is also the head of these departments? Now, that is why we say that the Chief Minister must have some hand in letting this allowed to be function, or the departments or having an administrative failure to have looked upon in a functioning of. Yes,
right.
Rajdeep,
You're making a very important point. You're claiming that complaints were filed marked to Chief Minister Pramod Sawant. That, remember, the Home Ministry also in Goa is under the Chief Minister. The fire department reports to the Home Ministry. No fire safety audit was done in this particular instance. There are also questions of how it could have been built on a salt pan. Advocate Carlos Alvares, let's be very clear. This isn't the first instance. There have been reports of a hafta culture going on in Goa now for years, about how many of these casinos are, many of these restaurants are operating, gaming companies are operating, all of which, some of which at least, are certainly illegally operating. Did it require a fire like this to wake up? In fact, a BJP MLA, Mr. Amodkar, had specifically referred to this in the last assembly session, that this was on illegal land. Is the entire system involved? Is it about individuals, or the system has completely collapsed from panchayat level right down to the right up to the Chief Minister?
Rajdeep, in fact, you have hit the nail on the head, and you have echoed what everyone speaks about things happening in Goa. The corruption is so deeply embedded that everybody knows that anything is available here for a price. You can pass off any illegality by claiming it to be legal, as long as you have the right political connections with the right color of what you give. Now, this is very important for you to know. I'll just pause for a moment and tell you that while we speak over here, in Panjim, there is a fire raging in one of these setups for the Serenity Art Festival right now, which is catching fire. And exactly 1 year back, I'm told the same venue, a similar structure also caught fire. Now, you have already had the Upar tragedy in Delhi. I don't know whether any lessons have been learned from there. Now we have had something in Maharashtra and Bombay, and now we had that in Goa, and now again repeating. I don't know if any loss of life or injury to people in Panjim next to the Kala Academy, but this is an indication of how deep-rooted the system is.
No, so you
Now,
are
let me tell you-
no, no, sir. Point. Is it about individuals or is the entire system, including? We are told even opposition leaders are given a share of the hafta. This hafta culture now cuts across. Delilah Lobo and Michael Lobo, who are the MLAs who are in these areas, they were once with the Congress, now they are in the BJP. So the entire system has got corrupted in Goa.
They were hardly there for 6 months. They were hardly there for 6 months with the Congress. They got elected, and within less than 6
Right.
months, they departed and they went into the BJP. And they said that they needed to do development, and so therefore they went. And we know now what development is going on. But that's in between the lines, you can understand what I'm trying to say. Now, I'll tell you, there's one thing which is happening. If people like us, who are locals over here, we apply for permissions, we go through the entire routine. It takes months, years sometimes to get permissions, licenses, and all that. But somebody not from Goa comes here, not only does it get expedited, fast-tracked, but whenever it suits, even the laws are changed. Can you believe this? I've even opposed it on the floor of the House by saying, you are bringing this amendment particularly to benefit A, B, or C. And it is still being bulldozed because they have the numbers. And this is the way the system is working. And let me be honest with you, I don't want to say that every officer is corrupt. I have also been an advocate general, so I know I've been a government advocate before. And since my years of experience serving for the government, defending the government, let me say that every officer is not necessarily corrupt. But one place where they fail is when they are pressurized, because there are threats to the officers. You'll be put in cold storage, or we will file an FIR against you, we'll pick up something and suspend you, or we'll transfer your family, or you'll be shunted in some corner. This is the threats which are being meted out, and they buckle down. Of course, corrupt people are there,
Right.
and they are also making hay while the sun shines. But it cannot happen, as Rajdeep, just one moment, it cannot happen. See, the scale of this entire club,
Yes.
it cannot be allowed to be operating without the knowledge of the authorities and the government. How can you say we are not aware that this structure has been run in the middle of a salt pan over here?
I take your point. Mr. Alvares, I take your point. In fact, I'm putting the roll call of those who have been guilty of negligence. Fire Department under Chief Minister Pramod Sawant, Goa Coastal Zone Management Authority under Union Ministry of Environment and Forests, Deputy Collector Panchayat under Movin Godino, Directorate of Panchayats under Mr. Godino, all BJP leaders, Goa Pollution Control Board under Chief Minister Pramod Sawant. I want to bring in at this stage Jack Ajit Sukhicha, because you're with the Travel and Tourism Association. Just before Christmas, you couldn't get worse news. You have earlier had taxi mafias. There's the casino culture which has grown. Now you have these nightclubs functioning on salt pan areas. What does this do for tourism? As it is, we are seeing high-end tourism moving away from Goa, going to Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Thailand. I mean, is there a consciousness among the tourism operators also that this must stop? Can you all go to the authorities and say, this is too much, it's affecting Goa's brand image?
So first of all, I would like to condone the fact that so many people have died. I think it's a very sad and tragic thing what has happened, fellow colleagues in the industry. And this fire is something which is, it's really shocking what has occurred. Coming to your question about what it does to Goa's tourism image, yes, I think post-COVID, there has been a spurt in a lot of unregulated businesses and businesses which are coming fly-by-night, operators who have just come up. And it is really important that the government takes action against these operators so that, and brings them in line. Fire and health cannot be compromised at any cost. and it is important that these guys are bought in line. There has been regular industry which has been operating for many years.
No, but have you all raised these issues? Have you all raised these issues with the government, sir? Have you all raised the issues with the government that there are these illegal clubs? What is the response you get?
The government has taken note of it and has promised action, but it has not been able. I mean, they still operate. So, I mean, it has not been very effective, to be fair.
Okay, you're saying it's not been effective. Advocate Amit Palekar, you know, it seems to me, as I keep saying, there seems to be collusion at all levels. We've known of panchayats who have been accused of corruption. We've known of MLAs, and it's going right up the order. Is there any solution at all? Will this fire wake up the people of Goa at all in your view? Because the truth of the matter is, the BJP itself, the same people are getting re-elected election after election, even those who've been accused of serious corruption. So it almost seems that the people of Goa don't care enough.
See, Rajdeep, one thing I can tell you is that, you know, when the people are corrupt, you get corrupt government. And I have said it very categorically yesterday that Goans are shameless, and that is what BJP thinks of us. Now, when I say this, I really want Goans to understand this fact that I am not using it derogatorily to you, but I'm using it, you know, to offend you, to make you feel guilty of the fact that the blood of these 25 people who lost their lives is also on your hands, because you have let this happen. You have let BJP believe that they can trample Goa and Goans, and they can get away with whatever they want by just taking care of things personally or in a manner that they can manage the voters. That's what they've been thinking. But honestly, it's only 32% of the voters of Goa who are getting them elected, whereas the 67% seems to not like BJP. But the fact remains is that all the opposition also need to understand this fact and somehow come to a single point of agenda of defeating this corrupt BJP. I think now it's for Goans to take charge. We have tried our best to get them together. That does not happen. But the Goans need to wake up. And if this does not wake up, Goans, I would only say may God bless us all, because I don't understand where we are heading. You know, nothing moves without money. As a lawyer, I've seen, if you want to start industry, you don't get permissions. If you start, if a Goan wants to run a restaurant, see, I am connected to this industry. My family is into this business. We have almost given up on almost all of those places because of the fact that we can't compete with the money that is kind of money that is gets pumped in and that gets paid to these corrupt politicians.
Where is the money coming from? No, Amit, where is the money? Where is the money coming from? The owner in this case is a Delhi owner. He has a string of nightclubs across the country, especially in Tier 2 towns. Are you saying all this entire business is working on cash alone? The money is coming from outside Goa?
Absolutely. You see a lane like Tito's lane, which we were proud of that lane once upon a time. I cannot enter that lane today. I just went there a few days back and I was like shocked. Except for the few clubs which are owned by the Goans, the rest have turned into a different place altogether. You go to Anjuna, you go to Vagat, or in other places, there is not a single Goan owner who could afford to run a club today, because they cannot pay this kind of extortion money that they're asking for. I have very categorically stated, Rajdeep, few months back, that the club owners are being made to pay 2 to 10 lakhs per month,
right,
as bribe money. This is single. Then there is other money that goes in. And I've been very clear. I've given out some names, but government doesn't blink eye on that point when I say that.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say, but
I take your point. You see, there is this hafta culture. There is, I take your point. You know, I would refrain from saying Goans are shameless. I don't think that's the answer. But Savio joins me at the moment. Savio Rodrigues, you've been with the BJP. Here you see Congress are all coming together attacking BJP. Just a minute. Savio, you've also tweeted saying that enough of corruption. We need to wage a war against it. It's white-collar terrorism. Now, please tell me, there's been a BJP government for more than a decade. 15 years in 2027 will be complete. Where does the blame lie? Who should be held accountable?
You know, if you want to ask me who has to be held accountable, it's the entire administration of the Goa government at this point of time, Rajdeep. And yes, I do support the BJP. And when it is wrong, it is wrong. It's as simple as that. That's the ethics of our journalism and the political stand we take on issues. Now, let me tell you why I'm saying that. This property, this particular nightclub was running for over 2 years. 2 years being illegal, 2 years in a salt pan, 2 years serving liquor, 2 years with no proper fire protocols in place. Are you telling me nobody in our system and administration was able to fight it, to know it, or to check it? If they did, 25 people would not have died, Rajdeep. This is white collar terrorism. Today we have gone to war. We went to war with Pakistan when 26 innocent people died in Pahalgam. 25 people have died here. Shouldn't we not go to war against corruption? Who are the officers behind? Where were the excise officers?
No, but
How
I've been
are they
hearing.
serving liquor?
No, but I've been no, Savio, none of these officers would be doing what they are and granting permissions or turning a blind eye unless they had ministerial protection. You know that, I know that, every Goenka knows that, and yet nothing seems to change. It's not as if
That is the reason.
This has been the most horrific example of what's been going on the ground for a long time.
But that is exactly, Rajdeep, why I wrote a letter to the Prime Minister himself, saying that he should personally take interest in looking at the corruption levels in Goa. This is a stark example where corruption has led to death of 25 people. Can you please tell me, what did the Luthras have other than money that nobody opened their eyes to the illegality that has led to the death of 25 people? So if the chief minister in Goa, if the administrative in Goa do not have the courage, then somebody at the center has to take a stand, because we cannot allow Goa to be destroyed in this manner, Rajdeep.
So therefore I ask you, Carlos Alvares, you're hearing now someone who supports the BJP also saying enough is enough. Will a stage ever come where the political class of Goa comes together at least on this one issue? You all talk about saving Goa. Goa is being destroyed. My Goa. I'm a Goenkar. My father grew up in Madgaon. And I'm seeing how the entire ecology is being destroyed, how the culture is being corrupted. Can all Goans come together or not? This is the tourism paradise of this country, which is being destroyed and becoming some kind of a wild west, particularly North Goa. Do you believe that Goenka, that politicians can actually come together? Or hamam mein sab nange hai? Everybody in some way or the other has a stake in allowing this system to continue. A quick answer.
It's a fight which we have and which we have to undertake. We should not buckle down. And I want to tell you one thing, that whenever I have raised in the assembly with evidence, I simply don't speak without having evidence. I've spoken of evidence of corruption in the PWD, corruption in the excise department, corruption in the police. What has the chief minister done? Just ignored and not even responded. And nothing. They are so thick-skinned because I am guaranteeing you that it is part of the system that they are aware, they're getting something, and that's why they're keeping quiet or turning a Nelson's eye. I've known your father also as a very good cricketer too, and I've known him before when he was here. And I used to meet him very often when in Goa. And I know how much he loved Goa as much as you do. And we all feel for Goa. And I think it's a time that people across party lines must get together, because we are selling not just our forests, our hills, the rivers, the coasts. Everything in Goa is getting destroyed. And it looks like BJP is in a race that before the next election, we must finish our agenda, finish Goa and go home with pots of money.
Okay. You know, though that's a very depressing thing to hear, that Goa is up for sale. Those are very strong words that are being used, but those are words that perhaps reflect the reality, and it required, unfortunately, this tragic incident perhaps for this to become a national embarrassment. As I said, this is not a normal fire. This is death by negligence and corruption. And that is really why it should be called murder in a way. I really hope Goans wake up. I hope the country wakes up to the fact that you cannot allow a state to be up for sale in this manner. I appreciate my guests joining me here on my talking point tonight. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
A friend of mine has just been watching the debate and calls it the tragedy of the Delhification of Goa. We'll talk about more on that later, but I want to turn to the other big story, because mayhem and chaos entered the 7th day over the IndiGo mess, which showed little sign of easing. In fact, IndiGo has responded to the DGCA's show cause notice, citing 5 reasons for the meltdown: minor technical glitches, schedule changes linked to winter, adverse weather conditions, increased congestion, and then new crew rostering rules, seeking more time to file a detailed reply. But here's the truth. As of this morning, over 400 flights stood cancelled. 134 in Delhi, 127 in Bengaluru, 112 in Hyderabad, 71 in Chennai, 21 in Ahmedabad, 16 in Srinagar, and at Delhi's IGI airport, a pile-up of baggages, and I'll show you those images, was seen across terminals a day after the airline was ordered to return all the displaced luggage to passengers. DGC has granted IndiGo another additional 24 hours to respond to its notice. The Civil Aviation Minister telling the Rajya Sabha this was an operational issue created by the airline itself. So who's to blame? The ministry, DGCA, or indeed IndiGo itself? Let's go straight to our other big talking point. So let's raise the big question on that IndiGo crisis. IndiGo meltdown. Will heads roll? Will accountability be fixed for those responsible for this mess? And what is ailing India's civil aviation industry? Joining me now, Captain Gopinath, founder, Air Deccan; Dinesh Trivedi, former Union Minister, who's also been a qualified pilot himself; Captain Saurabh Bhatnagar, former IndiGo and Air India Express pilot. Appreciate you joining us. I want to come to each of every one of you. First, Captain Gopinath, do you believe, where should the buck stop here? Should it stop with the ministry, DGCA, or indeed specifically with IndiGo Airlines?
I think it should stop with the board of IndiGo, because the CEO reports to the board, and I think there is a moral responsibility there for being themselves introspecting and holding themselves accountable, and come and explain to the nation what happened, because this is a catastrophe that has never happened on this scale, where the catastrophe of one airline becomes the catastrophe for India.
You know, you're saying that the board of directors must take responsibility. I want to put to our viewers this graphic. Who are the board of directors? It's a A-list. Vikram Mehta, chairman and non-executive independent director, has led one of the major MNCs, Shell in India. Rahul Bhatia, managing director of IndiGo Airlines, and a lot of questions are being asked about Mr. Bhatia, who reportedly now lives in Switzerland most of the time. Pallavi Shroff, non-executive independent director, leads one of India's top corporate firms. B.S. Dhanoa, former Air Chief Marshal, is a director. M. Damodaran, former IAS, has of course been in various positions, including SEBI non-executive director. Amitabh Kant, former IAS, also of course non-executive independent director, was earlier CEO Niti Aayog. Anil Parashar, non-executive director. Michael Gordon Whittaker, former FAA administrator, and Greg Seretsky, former CEO of WestJet. So these are all top names. You're telling me that these top names, Captain Gopinath, must be the ones who must answer as to why they didn't hold the CEO accountable? Is that what you're saying? That they should have known what was coming?
No, what I'm saying is that normally in the Indian context, the majority shareholder, even though he has a board, normally, things go through his language, his message that he sends. The board is generally, even though they're very, very highly accomplished with impeccable credentials, almost all of them, our boards are generally not that courageous in getting involved in the nitty-gritties and putting their foot down. That's generally across all boards, not just board. So by extension, I feel that the majority shareholder, who is also the managing director, should come up front and face the camera and tell what it is. And obviously, then it extends to the CEO, because the CEO should have had the courage to tell the managing director, who is the CEO now, and there's a chairman, and told Mr. Rahul Bhatia that I cannot implement unless you give me the clearance to do ABC, because it's not possible. He should have had the courage. But obviously, what comes across after almost every report and I've spoken to many pilots, including my own experience and the mistakes that I myself did, that there was arrogance and they thought they could,
There's-
get the rules and
that's a good
extend it.
point. That's a good point.
They thought that. Let me just
You're
finish.
making a good point. Did media monopoly? Yeah, go ahead.
Just last two things. See, IndiGo, to pay tribute first to, give the devil where it's due, it had built an enviable track record, blemishless, in fact, in fatal accident-free track record. Airline that had grown to 420 aircrafts, on-time performance, excellent operations, well-turned-out crew, airplanes, market cap of $22 billion. It is a global airline. It is not a... So they were an efficient airline, but somewhere along the way, I think arrogance has crept in, and people are removed from the operational requirements, because the board, especially, there should have been one board member who is totally dominant in the operations in this particular case, who should have been had the oversight on the CEO. I don't think that is there. Rahul Bhatia, he has to be credited. There's no doubt about it for what he has built. But his other board member, partner, Rakesh Gangwal, he was absolutely an operations guy. He was the CEO of a big airline. He had exited under a lot of cloud of disputes amongst themselves. He should have been replaced by someone with that kind of operational experience. And I think there's a lot of arrogance which has crept down. They thought they can get away by bulldozing the DGCA.
You mentioned the word arrogance now 3 times, and I want to take that. When you become a media monopoly with 66% market share, a certain arrogance can creep in. Dinesh Trivedi, do you believe this is where perhaps the civil aviation industry also has lost its way? You have a Vistara and Air India coming together, which is one part of it, and then you have IndiGo in a dominant share. Once you have 2 airlines dominating India's civil aviation, which is rapidly expanding, you're creating a duopoly, if not a monopoly, a duopoly. And as Captain Gopinath says, it can also lead to arrogance among the major market players. Do you believe that's the fundamental problem? Or is it regulatory oversight that the DGCA should have made sure that India's top airline complied and did not subject the DGCA almost to some kind of arm twisting?
Rajdeep, I'm going to take a very balanced view, and having run an huge transportation system in the railways and having seen civil aviation very closely, first of all, it's a very, very complex business. It's not easy, and Captain Gopinath and my other co-panelists would know it better. Here is a situation, to begin with, it should never have happened under such situation. If it is fog or any other situation, one can understand. Secondly, IndiGo having such a majority of the shares, that is incidental. I don't think so government has stopped any other players to come in. They could very well come. We have to accept one thing, that IndiGo is one of the world class with 2,200 flights, over 65,000 employees, and giving subsequent employment to subsidiary industry. The reason I am mentioning this, that airline transportation business is also part of security of the country, which connects Imphal to Bangalore and Bangalore to Dimapur.
Mr. Trivedi, you can be the best.
Sir, let me complete.
Sir, but there is accountability. Yeah. Sorry. Sir, there has to be accountability. Where is the accountability? You can be as big and a world-class airline. A world-class airline doesn't mean you're not accountable.
Rajdeep, your channel is news without the noise. So if you can let me speak for a minute, then I'll clarify what I'm trying to tell you. None of you, none of us, neither Captain Gopinath, nobody knows actually what happened. without knowing what happened, how are you going to judge that who is at fault? So my first thing, this is what I'm going to come before you interrupt it. My first thing is, let there be an absolutely independent inquiry and find out what happened. The inquiry should also tell us whose head should roll, whether it is IndiGo, whether it is the board, or whether it is DGCA, whoever. But let me tell you, this conspiracy theory I don't believe, because this government is very strong and it cannot be blackmailed by anybody. Now, having said all these things, please understand, to create such a product is not easy. So accountably, who, you, I, me, cannot be the judge to have accountability without knowing the details of it. Secondly, when you see passenger, I was also a victim. I was also very upset at the airport. But that doesn't mean those innocent girls and boys, you start shouting and you shout manhandling. That's not civilization. So yes, the situation should never have come. IndiGo has placed themselves to a very important transportation system. Inquiry should be done, and whoever is held accountable should be punished, or whatever action legally needs to be taken should be taken, because the matter had gone to DGCA, had gone to the court. What transpired between them, it should be made public.
Sir, okay, Captain Bhatnagar, Dinesh Trivedi wants to take a balanced approach, but most people are saying heads must roll now. You have to set an example. Unless you do so, market monopolies that have been created will create potential disruptions in the future. There is, of course, the concern that IndiGo simply took the system for granted. Do you agree, as someone who's flown IndiGo, that the pilot's concerns were never being registered? A pilot told me off record an exploitative system had been created. They were being treated like bonded labor. Is that true, or is that an exaggeration?
Hi, good evening, Rajdeep. A lot has been said in the last 4-5 days regarding this crisis, and it is now very amply clear that IndiGo saw it coming and could have taken action. They had 2 years to prepare for this, for this new FDTL scheme, to prepare for that. But I don't know what they did, why it happened. On the contrary, they increased their winter schedule by 6% without even hiring the new pilots. So naturally, it had to happen. And whether it'll again happen in future, we don't know, because there's no other players. Now, as regards treating as a bonded labor, I wouldn't agree on that. But yes, the IndiGo works on a lean frame, means that they have a very less number of, or just bare minimum requirement as per the our framework says, or our law says. But that's why the pilots were obviously hard pressed, and that's why we had so much of fatigue reporting and sick leaves and everything. They were giving just bare minimum time for their rest period, and that is why this new FDTL came into existence of 48 hours of rest period and 2 landings at night and increasing for night timing. But now everything has been diluted again. That means IndiGo, I would not say, as people are saying, arm twist, but yes, what if it is not an arm twist, then what actually it is? DGCA rolling back the entire rule till 10th of February. We are back to the square when what the pilot body and everybody demanding for so long. Yes, it means why at the first instance DGCA came out for the new FDTL means that the pilots were hard pressed, means that they were not getting the proper rest. Yes, I have flown in IndiGo, yes, but yes, that was not very long time back. But now with the increasing of number of flights, number of the aircraft, everything, the pilots were not hired, and in this crisis the international operations were not stopped. Why the IndiGo could have diverted few pilots.
I take your. So there is a huge question over IndiGo at the moment. The buck, do you believe, Captain Gopinath, therefore, where you started off, is with IndiGo, or is it with DGCA? Is the regulatory oversight system also in this country in need for a complete overhaul? A quick answer.
Yeah, see, definitely it is with IndiGo. The reason why I said the board, because normally the head of an organization has to take responsibility. Okay. But having said that, in answer to Mr. Dinesh's questions, I'm speaking out of not experience alone, but so I'll give some data and facts. Because I spoke to a lot of pilots who are flying in Air India and IndiGo. These rules were introduced by DGCA because of increasing pressure from the pilots, Indian Pilots Association, asking them to change the rules of FDTL. That was done through a consultative process where everybody were called, including Air India, Vistara, all the airlines were called, and everybody participated. IndiGo participated. Then the rules were issued, and they said this is what is being issued. If you want any particular exemption, ask for it. So some airlines asked for some exemptions, like cargo, saying that, look, I'm a cargo airline, I need to have more landings. That was given. Others were not given. They said you comply with it because it was this demand was there from pilots for the last 10 years. Now that is right or wrong. You first implement it, then you appeal for it.
No, so where does
just one second. Then the High Court.
Does the buck stop with DGCA or with
not with the DGCA?
If you were advising IndiGo today, what would you tell them?
Not in the buck doesn't. I admire the DGCA because they didn't succumb to pressure to postpone the enforcement of the rules on the 1st of November. Everybody knows this. There was pressure on them to give exemptions and not implement it. And they thought that if IndiGo with 66% market share doesn't do it, which used to happen during Air India's time earlier, then they will not implement it. They'll keep postponing it. But the DGCA stood firm. A lot of other issues with the DGCA. We need to have a professional there instead of an IAS guy, all those kind of things. You need to pay them a higher salary. But in this particular case, the DGCA hit the ground, especially after the Ahmedabad accident, that the pilot fatigue is one of the major issues of accidents. So then IndiGo should have followed it. They had enough time. They should have.
I take your point.
They didn't recruit the pilots required in time.
I take your point. Let me therefore bring in Dinesh Trivedi for a final word. Dinesh Trivedi, you see, the minister is saying that we will set an example. The question is the balance of does the government of India have to intervene now to get IndiGo to fall in line, or is IndiGo too big to fail, or too big it can simply get away?
Rajdeep, nobody is bigger than the country. And I think the balanced view is that IndiGo has played a major role, so are Air India and so all the airlines are playing a good role in the country. We cannot have any airline fail. That is why there are two things I would like to suggest. One is, I'm always biased towards the pilots, and I can tell you, and I have told you many times, that pilots do fly under a lot of stress, and pilots do require some kind of a hearing. Whenever there's something happens, we always bang the pilots. So it is a proper thing to have an independent inquiry, and whoever is found wanting must face whatever punishment is required. But we cannot afford to have such a nice product, which is the world product. And there are corporate wars also. But there is a place for ICPA, Indian Commercial Pilot Association, to reform, which is going to be good for IndiGo, good for DGCA. There should be a dialogue. This situation should never ever come again, period.
Whether it will come again or not depends on whether airlines are, as I said, it is about monopolies. The last thing you want is the kind of duopoly that has been created. Today the minister said in Parliament he wants 5 airlines. 5 world-class airlines should operate in India. Whether that will happen or not, we don't know. Captain Gopinath, 20 seconds. Do you believe that stage will come where we will have in the next year 5 top airlines operating in India and not just 2 major players? A quick answer.
Yeah, I think it will happen. It should come. I think duopoly or monopoly in any sector is against the interests of the country, consumer, as well as the monopoly itself. The monopoly will destroy itself if it is a monopoly for long. You saw what happened to the ambassador cars. So in all sectors, we need private sector, but multiple private sector participation, not cartelization. I think that is the answer, because if you had 20 airlines today, I'm not blaming anybody for not having 20 airlines. IndiGo has done a great job. I'm big salute to them. I said it in my article too. But when you become a monopoly, you become a monster. Anybody.
Okay, I think those are good last
But
words. When you
more
become a
airlines should
monopoly,
come.
you can
If they
also
don't come,
become
what can
a
you do?
monster. And, sir, and you will end up becoming arrogant as well. And therefore, IndiGo needs, in a way, to be brought in line. They cannot escape responsibility, and not just an individual, but the entire decision-making systems within IndiGo need a complete overhaul. I appreciate my guests joining us. Remember, this is an issue we will continue to tackle in the days ahead. Thanks very much for joining me. Okay, so look at this. Today, Parliament has been debating Vande Mataram for 10 hours. But we have consciously chosen on NewsToday to focus on issues of today. Because a Viksit Bharat cannot be built from the rear view mirror. It has to be built by looking at issues for today. So what did I focus on? On the Goa fire, which is a classic example of corruption in the system, and the IndiGo issue, which again shows what happens when you create monopolies and duopolies. They affect the citizens of the country. But I will leave you with the Vande Mataram debate. 150th anniversary of our national song, another opportunity for Prime Minister Modi to hit out at the Congress and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in particular, whom he said succumbed to pressure from Muslim League to remove 2 stanzas of Vande Mataram. And Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, who hit back, claiming the BJP remained obsessed with Nehru and not the real issues of our day. You decide who won that debate, Prime Minister Modi or Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. For now, all I can say, stay well, stay safe, good night, Shubh Ratri. This will be the program that will continue to focus on the issues of today that matter to Indians today to build a better tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe, good night. Shubh Ratri.
कांग्रेस के तत्कालीन अध्यक्ष जवाहरलाल नेहरू को अपना सिंहासन डोलता दिखा। बजाय कि नेहरू जी मुस्लिम लीग के आधारहीन बयानों को तगड़ा जवाब देते और वंदे मातरम के प्रति खुद की भी और कांग्रेस पार्टी की भी निष्ठा को प्रकट करते हैं, कांग्रेस ने वंदे मातरम पर समझौता कर लिया।
मोदी जी का अपने भाषण में ये कहना कि राष्ट्रगीत को एक विभाजनकारी सोच द्वारा काटा गया, उन सब महापुरुषों का अपमान है जिन्होंने अपना पूरा जीवन इस देश की आजादी की लड़ाई में झोंक दिया। वंदे मातरम को विभाजित करने का आरोप लगाकर आप पूरी संविधान सभा पर आरोप लगा रहे हैं।